Thank you for joining me for Tinkering with Terrius, Episode 2. In this episode, I am going to compare and tear down a generic 9-volt battery and a name brand 9-volt battery. As you can see, the batteries are physically different in size. The first test I want to do is to check the weight of the two batteries. The Goldman battery comes in at 34 grams. The Duracell is 44 grams. This is a surprising 24% difference in weight. Next, we will check the unloaded voltage of the two batteries. The Goldman battery comes in at about 9.48 volts. The Duracell battery comes in at about 8.88 volts. So a disclaimer now. This test was biased towards the Goldman battery. The Duracell battery expires in December of 2017, whereas the Goldman battery doesn't expire until July of 2018. Now we are going to test the current of the batteries. I have a small 12-volt 90 milliamp DC CPU fan. This fan has no issues running off 9 volts and can continue to run down to about 6 volts. At 9 volts, the fan draws about 55 milliamps. First, we will test the Goldman battery. You can see that it starts out in the 50 milliamp range. It starts dropping immediately, eventually hitting a low of about 45 milliamps. The Duracell starts out at the high 50s and drops to a relatively stable 52 milliamp draw. Next, we will test the voltage under load. This will hopefully shed some light on why the amperage supplied was inconsistent on the Goldman battery. As you can see, unloaded, the Goldman battery starts at 9.35 volts. Once the load is turned on, it drops rapidly, never seeming to be able to hit a stable voltage. The Duracell starts at 8.88 volts. When the load is turned on, it drops slightly to 8.58 volts. Compared to the Goldman battery, it drops much slower. Before I open these batteries, I have the Duracell datasheet. Unfortunately, Goldman does not have any sort of datasheet for their batteries. The Duracell datasheet contains a lot of interesting information. It includes the impedance of the battery, the typical weight and dimensions of the battery, and it even gives the chemistry of the battery. What I wanted to show, though, is the constant current graph. This graph shows that at 50 milliamp draw, which is roughly what we were using, the battery should last for over 8 hours. The Goldman battery, on the other hand, I'm willing to bet would not last even close to that long. So now I'll take apart the batteries. I will speed it up so that it's not so tedious. First, I'll take apart the Goldman battery. And you can see inside not a single cell in the Goldman is consistent. They're all different shapes and sizes, and the only thing separating the positive terminal from the casing is a small piece of cardboard. Next, we'll take apart the Duracell. The Duracell came apart a lot easier than the Goldman battery. The Duracell is far more impressive inside. It is constructed with 6 quadruple A batteries. Casing is completely isolated from the terminals. And as a huge bonus, each cell is contained in its own metal casing. This greatly reduces the risk of an accidental cell puncture. To me, this just reaffirms that while it may be okay to buy a generic battery for certain applications, anything requiring reliability should be taken seriously. The Duracell, even though being a year older than the Goldman battery, outperformed it in every test I did. At some point in the future, I may do a comparison of a variety of 9-volt batteries. I'm also including the dimensions and weight data that I gathered, for those of you who are curious to see the difference. I included both metric and imperial measurements. I must be honest, I've never used imperial for anything like this, so my math may have been faulty. You'll just have to forgive me. I am Canadian after all. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you didn't enjoy it, a dislike. If you are interested, feel free to take a look at my other videos. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask them in the section below or send me an email or tweet. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.